We can get started. Hello everyone, and welcome to the bi-weekly zkSync proposal review call. Today we have a few proposal updates as well as a few governance and ecosystem announcements to share. Reminder for some newcomers on the call to please use the chat and also the raise hand function to ask questions and participate in the discussion. Also generally advised to I'm just going to mute. There's some background noise happening here. Yeah, perfect. Just also a reminder for newcomers here, I will be sharing all of the official links that will be needed throughout the discussion today. Always advised to proceed with caution, clicking on links from other parties in these calls as well. Great. Okay, then before we actually dive into the proposal updates that we have today, I wanted to quickly share the governance and ecosystem updates just because they're a little quicker and I have a feeling the proposal discussions will need a little bit more time. So just to get those out of the way really quick, first up we have we have just a quick note on the governance, the ZK Minter interfaces that we talked about, I believe, on the last proposal review call, where Alex from Scopelift also joined and presented these cool new interfaces that they just developed and deployed. After some initial user testing and kind of feedback collection, they are in the process of making some changes and improvements. Also shout out to Ivy and Tino from ZKGov, who did a lot of really cool testing and feedback, provided a lot of really great feedback on those. So yeah, if you're using them or you're wanting to use them, just keep in mind that you'll likely see some changes over the coming days and weeks, and a few functionality improvements are also in the works. Then a few quick ecosystem updates. The Matter Labs posted their Q2 2026 deliverables report on the forum. I'm not sure if folks have seen this already. It's been up for a while now. I'll also share it in the chat here. This is just kind of a summary of all of the work that they've been focusing on over Q2. And Abhi, I know Abhi from Matter Labs is on the call. Maybe you can say a few words about that in just a minute. Just wanted to quickly go through the other two ecosystem updates as well. One of them being that Providium is now extends to Hyperledger Besu. If you're unfamiliar with Hyperledger Besu, it underpins approximately 35% of enterprise permissioned blockchain deployments globally. And with this new support, path to ZK proven privacy and direct Ethereum interoperability is now open to them. So it's kind of an exciting announcement I thought would maybe be relevant for folks here, and as well as zkSync co-sponsored SODA's 2026 Tokenization at Investment Banks report. This report is read by about 16 of the world's largest institutions and offers kind of like a wholesale overview of institutional, or like the state of institutional tokenization. So also a cool thing for zkSync to be a part of as well. These are both just announcements, by the way, on the zkSync blog that came out over the last few days and weeks. And yeah, just wanted to give some visibility to those as well. Abhi, I know you're here on the call with us. Is there anything you wanted to maybe say or highlight about the Q2 report while we have you?
Awesome, thanks, Shelby. I'll keep it very short since the full report is on forum. It's live. Please do have a read. This is just to reiterate what we've talked about in calls previously. We've been doing this since 2025. So we have 6 reports that are up live. So have a go read. But sort of quick 3 things that I'll pull from the report. The first thing is that Providium is now in production in more than one place. So Memento launched its Atlas upgraded mainnet. And we spent a lot of quarter getting Carry environment set up and ready to go into production. And Carry itself has grown to about 30 institutions. And we're working with a lot more institutions in this upcoming quarter. what we've been working really hard is the compliance infrastructure of Providium. So we have completed SOC 2 Type 1, and SOC 2 Type 2 is also underway. And extended sort of Providiums to basic chains, so institutions can add the additional ZK privacy and Ethereum settlement with the existing infrastructure that they run on. Another cool thing is a lot of the protocol work is following where the institutional demand is, which is right now on private interoperability. Stephen will talk more about that shortly, but a lot of the demands around sort of the selective disclosure and the multi-prover concept. So the engineering team is working really hard on that. Like I said, Stephen will cover sort of any V31 and sequencing in more detail. The third thing that we're really proud of is we passed sort of TPP 18, which was executed in June. It was quite incredible. Sort of Matter Labs hadn't received any token allocation at TGE, and we were basically financing sort of the protocol development and the build for the past 7 years, and nearly 2 years post TGE. So pretty incredible work from the team on that. And the staking pilot season 1 closed, which was about 370 million ZK stake. That was pretty incredible. Yeah, have a read of the full report. It's live, and we'll continue to sort of ship more updates every single quarter. And the goal is to get those updates posted and live in the future within the first week of the quarter ending. That's it, Shelby. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for hopping on and providing a little bit of context there. And yeah, the links are available on the forum if you guys want to check out anything more about the Q2 report, but also the other ecosystem updates that I shared earlier as well. Great. So then we can move on to the proposal update portion of the call. We have one proposal on chain right now, which is ZIP16, the V31 upgrade, also showing that in the chat here. If you want to see the on-chain proposal, this proposal is currently, voting for this proposal is currently still live. It met quorum 2 days ago. Yeah, voting will end tomorrow around, this is in CET, so around 10 p.m. CET or 8 p.m. UTC tomorrow. So if you're a delegate on the call and you haven't voted yet, please go cast your vote before then. We have Stephen with us here today from the Matter Labs team to talk through the scope of the proposal and also some of the changes from the original V31 draft. So Stephen, I will hand it over to you.
Hi, everyone. So I've been on this call before, but in case you don't know me, hi, I'm Stephen. I work on the business team over at Matter Labs. So real quick, before I start, I was told I have to say this. So there is a little legal disclaimer I have to say. So before I cover V31, nothing I say today is investment advice, a prediction about the ZK token, or a commitment on token utility, fees, price, or supply. V31 is a protocol upgrade proposal. Scope, activation of any fee or economic mechanics, and any related discussions sit with ZK Sync governance and the public record on the forum. If anything I say differs from the posted proposal report, the written version controls. So sorry I have to say that, but this is something that you have to follow when your legal team tells you that's what you have to say. So real quick, to go over the official reasoning behind the V31 changes. It was already posted on the forums why this big change happened. And the TLDR of it is that over the past several months, when we've worked directly with banks and institutional partners on what they need from ZK Sync and what they're looking for ZK Sync, it made our near-term priorities clear. They want private and institutional use cases that settle directly to Ethereum. And we have rescoped V31 to focus on that foundation these priorities are focused on, rather than shipped capabilities that the market is not asking for yet. So changes to ZIP16 basically follow the same process as all of our other engineering work. The scope and roadmap changes are based on ZK Sync partner feedback. Private and atomic interop has been prioritized for the near term in response to recent partner feedback. And the public interop work is done. It's built, audited, and tested. What's based on the demand is the production deployment, which stays available through future governance proposals. Engineering right now is focused on where the partner demand is, which is private interop. The reprioritization of elements of the roadmap, Matter Labs is responding to customer feedback and needs to reach product market fit. So essentially, TLDR is what was removed was that the original draft that was centered on gateway-based network interop fees was changed and removed. And instead, what is focused on for this release is ZK Sync OS compatibility work and proposed stage 1 support for basically escape hashes. So why that's important is that when we released ZK Sync Atlas last year, we essentially have, you can think of it kind of like 2 different operating systems for ZK Sync. There's Era VM, which is the original operating system of ZK Sync, and then we have Atlas. So Atlas is our new and improved 15,000 TPS. And what V31 does with the compatibility upgrades is actually really important in the fact that it makes it so that Era VM and ZK Sync OS are basically brought together so that they're at the same level, which is really important for all compatibility work, like moving forward with operational changes or anything like that. And then also the escape hatch is basically like part 1 of a stage 1 kind of deployment, where if something were to happen with the sequencer, then no user funds are ever stuck on any chain. So it's a direct upgrades for ZK Sync Era VM chains, and the priority modes for ZK OS chains is super important. So yeah, I guess I can pause there, as that is the essential changes that happened to V31.
Stephen, I actually have a question too, which is, could you maybe say a little bit more, or maybe you touched on this already, but can you maybe reiterate the reasoning behind the changes, or like what kind of it's like reprioritized, what was there, like reprioritization of different things, or I can't remember if you touched on that.
Yeah, so sure. So basically, with what we talked about with TPP 18 as well, the main focus and priority for ZK Sync moving forward is building out this institutional network, right? And when we've been talking with banks and institutions and moving forward with that, all of our partners have come back to us and said that what is most important to them is to ensure that private interop and atomic interop are prioritized above all else. So there is limited engineering capabilities for focusing on these things. So that's why V31 was changed, so that we can focus on what partners are telling us today that they want and they need. I think everyone can see that in the broader crypto space, this institutional narrative is one that is not going away. It's actually ramping up. We have people in the US government that are saying everything's going to be on chain in the next 2 years. You have banks and institutions that went from being like, oh, blockchain is an interesting thing, to seriously considering what their basically blockchain strategy is going to be. And we're in a really crucial time period right now, where in the next 6 to 12 months, you have these banks and institutions that are going to be picking the chains and picking the protocols that they're going to want to use moving forward. It's like this very short time window where if their banks and institutions are asking for certain protocol upgrades or developments, it's really like whichever team, whichever protocol satisfies those requirements as fast as possible are the ones that end up winning those deals. So coming at from a business perspective, and also for like a future perspective of ZK Sync protocol, just at the time phase that we're at right now, you have to listen to what your partners are asking for, and you have to move forward with basically prioritizing that as a P0. And that is why V31 was ultimately changed. It's for the future of the protocol and for basically implementing the changes that customers want to see.
Great, thank you. Thank you for going over that or reiterating that again. And if I remember correctly, just in the past, from past proposal review calls or these discussions, private interop was always on the roadmap. It was my understanding or my memory was for possibly later in the year, but it sounds like due to this feedback, private interop has just been moved up then.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it was actually always on the 2026 roadmap. It was always like priority number one on the 2026 roadmap was getting private and atomic interop live. And I think that there's a misunderstanding perhaps with what people are thinking about for interop. So with public interop not like getting deprioritized or getting reprioritized rather, doesn't mean it goes away entirely. Like I said before, it's built and audited. It's just getting reprioritized because the more important priority at the time right now is atomic interop and private interop. So what does that mean? So atomic interop and private interop means that when you have Providiums, which are private chains that essentially, this is what separates us from every other protocol out there, is that banks are able to build their own private Providium L2, which they are in control of, and that is their own island, so to speak, where they can do these tokenized deposits, et cetera, whatever they want to do with it. And they don't have to share their information with anyone else. So the issue with this is that it's kind of like this problem that has been in crypto for a really long time, where banks have essentially two options. They can either go on like a consortium-like chain, but then you're at the whims of the consortium, which banks don't want to do because every bank wants to own their own chain. And then, or you can have these private chains, which used to be like on Besu and stuff like that, which they're not connected with the rest of the crypto ecosystem. So it's like, yeah, you can have blockchain, but then you're in your own isolated island and it doesn't really make sense, right? So why ZK Sync is so advanced and why actually like, I unfortunately, I can't say anything that I want to tell you guys. Hopefully in the next 30 days, we can come out with some crazy news, but these banks and institutions are some of the biggest, and they are reading our documentation and they're looking at our network and they're like, you guys solved it. Like this private interop is exactly what banks want because they want to have their own siloed chain where it's a private chain that they can do whatever they want with, but they want to actually connect to Ethereum mainnet directly. So that's where private and atomic interop comes out, because a private and atomic interop is connecting Providium chains. So Bank X chain, or let's just say Kari, right? Kari chain, they can connect directly to Ethereum mainnet, but they can keep their privacy on their chain. And this is a special type of interop that has never been designed before, where the tokens will transfer and it'll stay private. So they'll keep all of their call data, which they need for governance, regulations, government regulations, all that stuff, customer data, but they'll be able to transact with public chains. Now, the difference is the public interop that was originally scoped in V31 was only for public ZK Sync chains. So that means it was only for ZK Sync Era to Abstract, to Lens, to Gravity. That was the only instance, and it was not connecting with any of the banking chains, and it was not connecting with any of the Providium chains. What private and atomic interop do is make it so that, which is coming in soon, and what we're working on right now, is that it makes it so that the private Providium chains can connect with the public chains and can also connect with Ethereum L1. Does that make sense? So it's something along the lines of, I think that there was a mix-up where people thought that interop was like dead because public interop was rescoped in V31, but interop is still coming, and it's a bigger version of interop because it is connecting the private chains to public chains. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's helpful. Actually, and thanks for outlining that again, because I think it also is maybe easy to get lost in reading all the different proposals or like for discussions on the forum and stuff. So thanks for outlining that that piece.
Yeah. Sure.
Cool. Any questions for Stephen?
I'm happy to answer any questions about V31 stuff. I know it can be like difficult I mean, especially when you're talking about call data and you're talking about contracts and you're talking about these upgrades and stuff like that, it's easy to get like lost in the just complexity of it. And I totally understand. And working on business team, I feel like part of my job is breaking down complex engineering stuff to more simple to understand things. So happy to chat about it with anyone.
No questions? All right, great. Then I will leave you all with a reminder to please go vote again. Oh, there is one question. Yes, Winverse.
Hey, Jim, Winverse from Diplomax here. Thanks for the updates, Stephen. Really insightful. The quick question I had is, how do you see the community playing a part beyond just like voting on this proposal, as regards to V31 especially?
Well, there has been a lot of discussion from the community about V31, and I know that I've seen Golem respond on the forums, and I know I've seen other Matter Labs people respond on the forums, and also other delegates respond on the forums. So I want you to know that like Matter Labs reads every forum response, and we're always watching. So basically, whenever you guys have comments or questions, and you put them forward in a way that we can answer, then we're happy to do so. And I think that it's also important to speak up about what you want to see, because that is super helpful and is always taken into consideration, right? At the end of the day, like we see what partners are telling us as well. And I think that a very valid criticism that was brought up about V31 was that communication wasn't the best. As in, it was originally posted in April, and then it got delayed, and then maybe I can explain that a little bit more too, because I also asked our engineers like what happened. So basically, I think something else that people don't really understand, which is totally, I get it because this is something I had to learn too, is that when there's a protocol upgrade, whether it's V29 or V30 or V31, this is, I guess the simple way of explaining it is that it is an operating system upgrade. And what that means in terms of chains is that you essentially are forking the chain onto a new upgraded version. So I know that like hard forks have like a scary terminology, but it's very common. There's soft forks and hard forks, and this is all very common in crypto industry. But essentially, when you are doing a protocol upgrade, you are forking the chain. As in the old chain doesn't exist anymore, and the new chain is a copy and paste of the old chain, but with the new upgraded settings, right? This is really difficult. And I feel like crypto is one of the only industries in the world where it's like this, where these changes are permanent and they are extremely, they affect everything. So this is why protocol upgrades can unfortunately get delayed sometimes, because they have to go through several rounds of audits, and you have to make sure that everything is like perfect and nothing breaks, because you're essentially you're like flying an airplane and you're changing the engine on the airplane while the airplane is flying without any downtime, which is actually like a computer science marvel, to be honest. But it means that if there are bugs that pop up, if there are issues that pop up, you have to be able to modify the timelines, right? So that's why, and I think that where we kind of dropped the ball, or was that these things happened, and then it was just like engineer was working on them and fixing them. And I think that in the future, it's totally on us to make sure that we communicate things better. As in, like, okay, hey guys, I know we posted this 2 weeks ago. I just want to let you know that we're still going through audits, or this happened and we're working on it, changes and stuff like that, right? And I think that's a very valid criticism by the community, that we weren't the best on communication of why this was taking a long time or why these things happened, which is why we're here. And I'm happy to help explain specific questions about B31 and what our thought process is and why we're doing this and how we're moving forward. So I hope that answers your question. Sorry if I went a bit off tangent there.
Yeah, it does. Especially when you spoke on speaking up on what you want to see, and yeah, the communication aspect really key. So yeah, thanks for that.
Thank you, Wenverse. Appreciate it.
Okay, great. Any other questions? Otherwise, we'll move on to our final topic today. I just accepted them. They should be in here. Thanks for the reminder, Max. Great. Okay. Then I will just leave you with a reminder. If you have not voted yet on the proposal, you have time to do so until tomorrow around 8 p.m. UTC. So go ahead and do that. Great. Then moving on to our final topic of today. This is a forum post that has been discussed on the forum recently quite a bit. It's a developing proposal from a community member. Anwar, who is the author of the proposal, is on the call today. And I would ask you to, please join the stage, and also please introduce yourself, because I think this might be your first call. So please introduce yourself for everyone and go ahead and start your discussion.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to present. I'm Anwar, and I'm the author of the draft proposal that was just mentioned by Shelby. And before I begin, I would like to clarify what this proposal is not. It's not an attempt to reverse any previous distributions. It's not an attempt to stop the development of ZK Sync. It's not an attack on Matter Labs. Instead, it asks a governance question. Should the remaining automatic monthly allocations approved under TPP 18 continue today under the same assumptions that existed when governance originally approved them? TPP 18 explicitly included the following safeguard. The token assembly retains the right to revoke any future monthly minter at any time. And that sentence really matters because it means governance intentionally. Hello?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, because the connection, I don't have a stable connection here in the holiday. So it means governance intentionally preserved the ability to review future allocations if circumstances changed. And the proposal simply asks governance to consider exercising the authority that already exists. The proposal rests on 4 main points. The first is the assumptions supporting TPP 18 have evolved. When TPP 18 was approved, institutional adoption was presented alongside an expectation that it would eventually contribute to protocol activity and governance-controlled fee mechanisms. Since then, Matter Labs has explained that those fee mechanisms remain deferred. Whether those decisions were technically correct is not the question. The governance question is whether the assumptions supporting automatic funding remain sufficiently unchanged to justify continuing it without further review. Second,
I think you might have got out.
I'm
Okay.
back. Second, Matter Labs has publicly discussed the growth of its commercial activities through enterprise deployments, managed services, licensing, and Previdium. Commercial success is a positive outcome. However, as commercial activity grows, it's reasonable for governance to periodically reassess whether treasury-funded token issuance should continue under the same structure approved months ago. That is not an argument against commercial success. It is an argument for governance oversight. Third, each remaining cap minter increases the circulating supply of ZK. Governance accepted that trade-off when TPP was approved. The proposal asks whether that trade-off remains justified today. The revocation mechanism exists precisely so governance can revisit that question. And fourth, this proposal does not seek to eliminate future funding. If Matter Labs requires additional funding, governance can evaluate a new proposal based on today's roadmap after it has evolved, rather than yesterday's assumptions. And such protocol could include updated milestone, transparent reporting, measurable deliverables, and current explanation of how the requested funding benefits the protocol and token holders. I believe that model creates stronger accountability than automatic recurring allocations. And at the end, because I don't want to make it that long, I mean, it's straightforward proposal draft. This proposal is fundamentally about governance. TPP-18 deliberately preserved the token assembly's authority to revoke future monthly minters. And if delegates believe that circumstances which have changed justify the future allocations, they still exist, then they could, simply explain why. And if delegates believe that they do not, governance already has the authority to act. So either way, I believe the community deserves that discussion. As I said, I don't want to make it that long, and thank you for the time. And I'm happy that we are able to discuss that. And I welcome your questions or feedback.
Great. Thanks for going over the post here, just for folks who maybe haven't read it or seen it. Just one point from the governance team side is, yes, it is that is true about the proposal cancellation. All of that's outlined in the docs. I believe, do I have it up? In the TPP section of the docs, proposal cancellation is you can find more information about that there. And I don't know if anybody's told you otherwise, but there's no rules against, putting a proposal forward for token program proposal cancellation. Curious, just coming off of the back of the discussion we just had with Stephen Anwar, and how Stephen, kind of walked through the, TPP-18, well, V31 primarily, but also, prioritization of or private interop and public interop. And he, I believe, mentioned that both of those were stated as part of the roadmap in TPP-18. And it sounds like they've just been reprioritized. However, the roadmap or the scope hasn't changed. So I'm just curious, what parts of the proposal, just to make it clear for listeners or, folks reading, maybe after this, what parts of the proposal exactly do you see? I believe you say material or have materially changed.
The roadmap evolved. Previously anticipated fee mechanisms remain deferred, and the relationship between institutional adoption and governance control value accrual is now less certain than when TPP-18 was approved. And those developments justify governance reconsidering the remaining allocations. I think the disagreement is about whether the changes are material, but the development path has evolved and the expected timeline for fee mechanisms has changed, and it's somehow now indefinite, and the relationship between ecosystem growth and token holder value capture is less defined than when TPP was presented and approved. So the purpose of this discussion is for governance to decide whether those changes justify reassessment.
I see. Okay. Yeah, thanks for sharing that or explaining a little bit more. I guess I'm still, just because I was looking at the TPP-18 a little bit earlier, and it does mention private interop, and Stephen, I think, mentioned early on the call as kind of the primary deliverable for TPP-18. Public interop was part of it, but private interop seems to be kind of a core element of Stream 1 here. And I know you mentioned fees as well. Maybe Stephen, if you wanna jump in here as well. But I guess my understanding, interop, regardless of public or private, there's still an expected fee mechanism that would be involved with this as well. Could you maybe say a little bit more about that, just to clarify?
Yeah. So a few points. Thanks, Anwar, for sharing your opinion. The first point is that On TPP 18, the goal of the proposal from the summary is to execute the 2026 Providium roadmap and convert active institutional pipeline into deployed chains in a growing institutional network. That hasn't changed. Private and public interop are both deliverables outlined in Stream 1, and public interop hasn't been canceled. It was just prioritized. So where I'm a bit confused is the fact that nothing materially has changed from TPP 18. If anything, I would say TPP 18 asserted that our focus moving forward is going to be on institutional developments, and that is exactly what we're prioritizing. So I would argue that V31 is actually in accordance of TPP 18, which is what the entire proposal was about, right? So private interop, for example, so actually Shelby has the, you can look at it right there, right on the screen. So just if you leave it right there. So the first bullet is private interop, which is our P0. So how things are ranked is like P0, P1, P2, and priority, right? So our P0, which is our most important priority that we're focused on, is private interop, and has always been that on our roadmap. It was even on our roadmap that we published in December of 2025 for 2026. And also, if you see the off-chain integration layer is also on there, which is things like, and then SOC 2 attestation, which maybe people don't understand, but is essentially like, if you want to work with banks, you have to be SOC 2 compliant, which actually we got type 1 already approved in our Q2 deliverables. And if you even read the one bullet that talks about public interop, but public interop expansion builds on V31 to extend public interop layer across all ZK Sync chains. And it is critical because Providium chains will eventually transact with public chains. So like what I said earlier in the V31 discussion, we have reprioritized it so that private interop and atomic interop are prioritized, which is connecting public chains to private Providium chains. So when you make the assertion that TPP 18 has materially changed the roadmap, it's not true. I mean, it's nothing has materially changed. Just the priorities have changed a little bit, right? So that's the first main point I want to say. And then Shelby, you were talking about on-chain fees, because I believe this was your second main point. And again, unfortunately, I can't, okay. What I can say is that on-chain fees are still super important. Then they're not going away. As discussed, the fee mechanisms that were discussed for public interop are different, a little different, but at the end of the day, the entire purpose of building out the institutional Providium network and there will be fees for private interop. There will actually, I have to be very careful about what I say legally, but there will be fees for private interop. And these fees are fees that are designed to be paid by banks and institutions. And when you have these fees, it goes into protocol fees that are generated. And these protocol fees can be used by governance in the future to direct them however governance chooses. This is not a matter that Matter Labs specifically is allowed to or decide. This is for governance, as we've said many times.
Maybe just to jump in also from the governance side to help kind of explain this in a way. So the token assembly, so delegates, are the admin of the protocol upgrade handler and all of the governance contracts as well. Any protocol fees that would be collected, the governance is the only, or the token assembly is the only body that's able to decide what to do with those fees. So natively, by how it's deployed, governance will always be the token assembly will be the body that decides what to do with the piece. Just to provide a little bit of like a kind of like a nerdy sort of technicality sort of explanation, maybe
Yeah, and
point as well.
other thing I want to note as well is that TPP 18 has only been live for about 3 weeks. So I feel that also it is, and we actually just, as Avi announced, we just published our Q2 deliverables and we have our Q1 deliverables as well. So everything is being tracked and everything is being published. And TPP 18 has only been live, hasn't even been live for 1 month yet. So I feel like it is very like trying to cancel a program that hasn't even been live for a month when the entire purpose of the program is aligned with the roadmap that we have specified seems not, it doesn't really make sense to me personally. Yeah, there was something else I was going to say, but I'm going to pause. I'll pause there. Emor, feel free to respond.
Yeah, thank you for the technical details, although I don't really understand because I see here, it's already here, Shelby, she has it on the screen. It's private interop and public interop were in stream 1, and which did not happen because we know that V31 originally it was interop bundles and it has been rescoped. And you're saying that it was not canceled. I would say this is, I mean, technically it was canceled because it was supposed to be delivered by end of June, and it has been canceled. And as you are legally very keen on the words you say, you cannot give a timing. And so technically it has been canceled for end of June. Whether it will be implemented in the future or not, this is, I mean, God knows, I would say.
So it has been reprioritized, as we've stated many times. It's been built and audited. It's not a part of V31, but it's not like thrown away, I guess is a way of putting it. I think also another point that is important to note is that we're only talking about stream 1 of TPP 18. There's, if Shelby scrolls down just a little bit, there's also stream 2 and stream 3. There's a lot of aspects for TPP 18 that are covered through this proposal, not just public interop, and of which, as I described earlier, public interop and private and atomic interop. So public interop only connects zk-sync era, abstract, gravity, lens. These are the only chains that are connected. Public and private and atomic interop connects to Ethereum mainnet, L1 chains, other public chains, as well as private chains. So it's more holistic, if that makes sense. But yeah, okay.
It might also, Stephen, I don't know if it might be well. Oh.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but you know exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And Matter Labs is not keeping any secret. It's saying very openly the roadmap has been changed, and due to requests from certain banks or certain partners or certain commercial partners, business partners, the roadmap has been changed. I mean, it's not something that I made up. It's something that Matter Labs is officially and openly stating it. So I didn't make that up. And we know, and you know what I'm talking about.
Nobody's trying to say that. I think.
Thank you for the technical details. These technical details are.
What Stephen was saying was reprioritize, but Stephen, maybe it's good to revisit this, like the actual purpose of TPP 18. I think it also is, maybe easy to get lost in the nitty details, but it might be good just to review the overall aim.
Yeah, I mean, those details are very good, and I thank him for the explanation, but those details may be relevant to a future funding proposal. But the question here is narrower. Should the existing automatic allocation continue unchanged? Although and despite the roadmap has been changed, and the roadmap has been changed.
Great. Maybe now is a good time to pause actually and see if any other delegates or folks on the call have any comments or maybe questions they wanted to add to the discussion. I see there's been some messages being shared in the chat throughout as well. But anybody else? Or yeah, if not, that's totally fine. I know it's also scary to hop on the mic on these calls too.
I mean, as Stagnos has written in the chat, the point of TPP was to focus on enterprises, private, interop. Basically, I understand where you're coming from, Anwar, in the fact that a piece has been rescoped, and that is not it. Okay, from your point of view, the fact that public interop was changed from how it originally was is unacceptable. I understand where you're coming from.
No, it's not unacceptable. It has been, in my point of view, or in the logic, I'm sorry to interrupt, I just want to correct to avoid misunderstanding. It has been canceled because it was written, and I mean, it should have been delivered end of June. So technically, it has been canceled. Whether it will come in the future or not, I mean, you are very legally careful, so you cannot give the timing. So it has been technically canceled, and this is something we cannot deny. So this is my point of view. I just wanted to make it clear. So please proceed.
I understand your point of view. My point of view is that the thesis of TPP 18 has not changed. And the main purpose of TPP 18 has not changed. As things can, when there are, how do I say this? Thank you for your feedback. I appreciate that. What I want to just touch on again is that one final point is that the main goal of the TPP 18 is to execute the 2026 Providium roadmap and convert the active institutional pipeline into deployed chains and a growing institutional network. That has never changed. So that is the main purpose of TPP 18. Whether individual pieces of it can be modified over time due to partner feedback and due to things that happen is just a part of doing deployments. That makes sense.
Okay, thank you both of you for the discussion. Are there any other final comments, thoughts?
Thank you.
Before we close it out? Great. Okay, wonderful. Then thank you everyone for joining today. As always, the call notes and links will all be shared on the forum by end of day tomorrow. And we will see you guys at the next call. Have a great rest of your week. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good one. Bye.
Thank you, guys.